Hello, this is John from Clock Repairs Merseyside again on this Friday morning, the end of the working week, which I'm glad I've had a heavy week this week. Anyway, I thought what I'd do is I'd just do a little review about some of the books that I think are worth having a look through, whether you're starting off in clock repairs or clock restoring or clockmaking, or you simply, you're already a clockmaker, you're already very, very good at repairing clocks, and you've got no problems with that. But these are nice guides and references. And I keep them in the workshop because one thing is they're good for myself from time to time just to go through, because we're repairing so many different clocks every day that your memory sort of becomes a little bit sort of scatty now and again on various things. So what I like to do sometimes is just have a little browse through when I'm having a cup of tea or whatever, refresh my memory on a few certain things and go from there. Also, my situation is obviously because I do from time to time have people working with me, and a lot of them are along the lines of apprentices, should we say, although very, very good. What I tend to try to do to teach people is, the likes of my grandson, for instance, he's 18 years of age now, he works with me sometimes, is I get him to read as much as I possibly can and watch YouTube as much as he possibly can, so that he gets a good basis of what's going on, rather than sort of have to sit there, because I just really haven't got the time to do that, because this is a working workshop. I have to earn me living in order to pay me bills like every normal person. So that's the situation. So it's a business, so I tend to get him to look through a lot of books. I have books all the time. I will look at books and I will buy them if I think they're going to be handy for him to look through. Or sometimes we have another lad here, Luke, get them to go through that. And then, they do have that basis then. And then it makes my job much easier. I can just basically polish them up a little bit, make sure that they're doing things right, but they have the general idea. And I think that's really handy. And I think that's a good way of doing it. So anyway, what I'll start off with, in this workshop we get a lot of striking clocks. I'll just move them to one side. So you get the likes of strikers and chiming clocks, and obviously you're doing a service on them, so you're taking them to pieces, you're doing bushing work, you're going to polish the pinions, you're going to do stuff like that, and then you've got to put them back together again. Now obviously putting them back together, you've got 3 clock trains, and so everything's got to work as it should do, in sync, as it does. So sometimes a good reference guide for me, and also people here, is these books by Stephen G. Conover. He's an American writer. I think he's actually a member of the NAWCC, if I'm not mistaken. We've got a couple of books by Stephen, and I find them to be very good. Reason being is, obviously you've got your big pictures and your big diagrams rather, and it's a really good reference. It's really good, and he does cover, he covers a lot of common clocks that we do see in this workshop all the time. It's not like he's just working on one thing. that Ergos, for instance, a lot of them come in. We see these clocks all the time, so it's there. So it's fantastic. And he has one on sort of striking clocks, and that's got the likes of your little French clocks in, your French sort of barrel movements, cylinder movements, round movements, that type of thing. It's got that type of clock in, striking clock. It's got your very common 1920s, 1930s wall clocks. Some of them are in the Vienna thing, made by the Hamburg American company. I find them to be really, really good. His writing on them is great. It helps you set them up, no problem at all. Although, as I say, I don't have really a problem setting them up. I've seen them that many times now, so it's really easy for me. But it is nice for other people in the workshop to, read something and go on it. A book I recommend, I'll put that aside for a second. The book I recommend for someone really starting off is The Clock Repair Primer by Phil E. Bolcombe. again, I think he's a member of the NAWCC. I'm sure he is. I'm not going to get into trouble for doing these with books, but I'm not slagging anybody off. I'm just sort of, and I mean, there's a lot of great clock books out there. I mean, there's plenty of them. What I would say is I think some of them would be a little bit difficult for the person just starting off. It's quite difficult to get through, but clock repair or clockmakers for beginners, that's obviously that type of stuff, but I just find these are quite easy read stuff myself personally. If you look at them, they're quite easy read, very basic information. And I mean, that's where obviously you want to start if you're not already a clockmaker. As you well know, you want to start really at the very beginning. You've got to start at the beginning of anything in life. In a book, it's no good starting in the middle, is it? So that's I find that one is a great book. But this book is very difficult to get hold of now, very, very difficult. And I think there's another book too by Phil Balcombe. I'm not 100% certain, but I'm sure it'll be the same as this one. It'll be full of information based a lot around the American Ansonia type movement. With the open springs, it's based a lot around that type of clock. But gives you a good basis to start with that type of clock anyway. As I say, for me, they're not the nicest clock to work in because of the open spring situation, although they're very basic. I do kind of like them. A lot of people don't, but I find them to be okay. I mean, if you do things, I mean, they're quite forgiving where the bushing and stuff is concerned, aren't they? I mean, it's because obviously they've got an open pinion, so obviously you're not going to get you're not going to get depth and problems as easy as say with a German higher quality counterpart. But nevertheless, they make some absolutely beautiful clocks. The Ansonian American type clocks, I find them to be really great sellers. I mean, we have them on the wall. We could have it next to a Fusey, and it could be the open spring type, really what I would call an agricultural type movement. And people always tend to levitate towards them because the cases are nice, but that's the same in everything in life. It's all smoke and mirrors, really, isn't it? Anyway, that's that one. We have, before we have a look at that one, we have this is an older book, Striking and Chiming Clocks, by Eric Smith. Again, there's plenty of great information in there, no problem at all. Absolutely packed with information. And again, that's an American style type movement, the open spring. And yeah, I'll tell you a funny thing what my grandson done once on a clock like this. This is a Waterbury type company clock. You've got your I can just show you there. You've got your count wheel, and my grandson actually put that in the opposite way round. So when it was all back together again, it was striking backwards, if you know what I'm saying. So say for instance, it would be that the hands would be at 1 o'clock, it would strike 11. It was that type of thing. And that's what he'd actually done. He'd actually flipped it round the other side. There's actually usually on them, there's like a raised area, if you like a raised area as it goes right round the circumference, the raised area. Well, that faces outwards, just for future reference. But yeah, that's plenty of useful information. There's your typical French movement there. Yeah, again, they've got a lot of information in them. I can sort of pretty much, as you can well imagine, I can probably follow all of it, no problem at all. But my grandson Luke and Steve, Steve Conover's stuff, they'll sort of levitate towards that. Now, this is a great book, and in my opinion, a must-have if you're working on any carriage clocks, by Laurie Penman. Laurie Penman's been around for God knows how long. He's actually still around now, and sometimes I think I'm friends with him on Facebook. But yeah, his books are great. plenty of useful information, very in-depth information, but you know, really good stuff, quite practically put together, easy to follow, no problem there at all. Still writes for a few magazines, but yeah, I find this stuff, I mean, absolutely fantastic. I mean, he's got quite a few books out, and I'd highly recommend any of them, to be straight. I got his book. I'd been working on caddis clocks, no problem, strikers, you know, repeaters, not a problem at all with them. And then I got asked to work on a Breguet and a Grand Sonnier, and the guy was being a bit, how could I say, I felt he wasn't telling me all what was going on, if you know what I'm saying, with this clock. It wasn't the most expensive Breguet. It wasn't, it was probably worth about £15,000, something like that. But anyway, the thing being, anyway, so I got Laurie's book because I needed to take it to pieces to service it, but I also needed a little bit of backup in my mind to put it back together again. And this book was the very man. And I've got to say, the information in it is absolutely fantastic. So I'd highly recommend that, by Laurie Penman. Highly recommend that. Got to have that by your bench. Got to have that if you want to repair any decent clocks. You know, it's a must-have, in my opinion. Well, that's pretty much it. Now, another book I'll recommend is by a guy called Rod Lloyd, and it's sort of the clockmaker's bench manual, if you like. Now, I read a couple of Rod's books quite a long time ago, and I believe he actually comes from Southport, which is just up the road from me. It's not too far from me, and I did get I've got to be honest with you, I did get the flavour when I was reading of his. He's quite let's get on with it type of attitude. It was that type of thing, you know. He didn't sort of, you know, blind you with smoke and mirrors and things like that. It was just pretty much to the point. This is what we're doing. This is how we're doing it. This is and it was, you know, this is how I think it should be done. Like myself, think it should be done that way. As I've said before, it's not, certainly not the only way to ever do anything. It's your way of doing it, and as long as it's good and the quality of the work's there, that's not a problem. I mean, you know, we all do things a little bit different. I mean, mounted clocks, I repair some of them from, you know, 17th century. I mean, you'll see some things people are doing, and you know, then you'll see a clock and it's different and it's different and it's different. I mean, everyone has a little bit of a take on the way it's going, probably depending on what tooling they have at the time and one thing and another. I think things now are a lot easier for us because we haven't got that. You know, we've got a lot of better tooling now. We can do a lot of things, you know, with pillar drills and lathes and stuff. You know, that it's all better stuff now in effect, isn't it? So you know, we've got a better chance. But yeah, but his name is obviously Rod Lloyd, and that's a bench manual, pretty basic stuff, a bit like Steve Conover's stuff. I would recommend having that. I mean, if you know you're starting, I mean, there's some of these books really. It doesn't matter whether you've been in the industry for forever. I mean, I would have these books as a reference. I mean, you know, it's just nice sometimes to flick through, refresh your memory, and you know, it just makes it saves you thinking about it. You can just get on with it. You go, oh yeah, that's how you do it. I remember now, and you get on with it, and you know, that's it. And you know, you do the job right, and you can spend your time on the finer things of, you know, pivot polishing and you know, get it dead right. Anyway, this is John from Clock Repairs Merseyside. Hope you enjoy the video. Hope I've not got in trouble with anybody, any copyright stuff and all that. I did look through to see could I do that, and it didn't say I couldn't really. So we'll see if there's any problems. Anyone's got any complaints, please let us know and I'll take the video down, or any of the authors, that is. Let me know and I'll take the videos down. Okay, thank you. You have a great day. This is John from Clock Repairs Merseyside. I'll speak to you again soon. Thank you.